The ability to extend the life of a platform offers significant value to military customers in financial, logistical, and operational terms. This is Jason Watson, Head of Operations and Supply Chain at Collins Aerospace.
The ability to extend life on any product, and I don't think it necessarily has to be in the military, adds a lot of value to any sort of customer at the end. But I think, when it comes to sort of, mission availability and mitigating risk and preparedness for our military, things and capabilities might include the logistics support of parts and material, having a really good testing and service centre capability, and behind all that is an engineering support team which can overall extend the life of parts, all parts of a platform. So as an example, we might be talking about a tactical radio on an aircraft or a helicopter, and our ability to have the right products at the right time and turn that around in a sustainable and long-term environment or longevity is, as you would imagine, very important.
At Collins Aerospace, the company uses historical data to help ensure parts availability, a crucial advantage in delivering performance-based logistics.
I think it's our ability first to get it into our services quickly, having the availability of the on-site technicians to do the work. And as I mentioned earlier on, having the parts availability. So you hear of a lot of operations and companies that will say, yeah, we offer this performance-based logistics, but we've got to go and order those parts. So having that predictability through technology and forecasting, some of the, I suppose you use a bit of historical data where we've had issues on certain platforms. It gives us that predictability to look forward or somewhat strategically and sort of gauge what parts we're going to need in the future. I think I'll give you a good example where we've probably done it in the past, and I'm probably going to have to be a little bit generic here. So an example with the Australian Air Force, we were installing at one of the bases in New South Wales, we were installing some flight simulators, and we had a number of projectors come over from the US. And out of that batch of projectors, a number of the projectors had problems with their powerboard cards. So normally they would have sent that away into the US. There would have been a 3 to 6 month turnaround. We analysed the problem, liaised with our business over in the US, understood what parts were needed. We were able to bring those products down into our service centre facility in Lane Cove, repair them and have them back into the environment in a bit over a month. So normally I would say that's a good example of performance-based logistics. So not being prepared, but being able to predict what was required for the quick turnaround time.
Many providers of sustainment and support have customers around the globe, and they must consider the unique demands of particular regions. For example, Collins Aerospace is considering how it can provide more localised support in Asia Pacific.
Again, talking about performance-based logistics and the ability to adapt in time and operational readiness. At the moment, a lot of the parts and OEMs repairs and that are done out of the US. So, what we're seeing, and I suppose as we look towards the future, it'll be about how we provide, that expertise into the region. Given I haven't spoken much about our service centre capability, but we've got some highly trained technicians on site here at Lane Cove, working across, the distributed aperture system, the processing projectors, and in our service centre. So that's not to mention a couple of our field technicians that work out on site. They're actually embedded in some of the RAF operations. So again, it provides that ability to address a real-time issue.
Collins Aerospace offers domestic sustainment support for its customers from facilities like its Love Cove base in Australia. This local approach provides real, practical advantages to militaries.
One of the challenges, I think, for a lot of people out in this region is where they send a piece of equipment away. And it's about, you hear of the term no fault found. So they can pull a particular radio off a platform, an air platform, the CH47, thinking there's a problem with it, and it may have to go back through a lengthy process to get repaired to find that there's no fault found. And I spoke earlier on about some of the initiatives we're working on with the Commonwealth at the moment about, and it's particularly one of these platforms where, even at a lower level, can we get that platform come into our Laneco facility, we're in Australia, and we can test whether there's no fault found, thus turning it around back to the customer much quicker. Obviously, if there's a fault found and the radio's encrypted, it has to go back into the US. But the number of no fault founds we find with radios and that going back to the US is sort of would help the customer immensely. But I think, like anywhere in the world, in the region, each region has its idiosyncrasies, and that no fault found is a really good example. But I think adapting to those regional idiosyncrasies, ensuring you've got the parts or the OEM parts available, play a big factor in the overall performance-based logistics and the relationship with the customer at the end of the day. I think if you get their platform back and working rather than sitting on a tarmac not being able to fly, 3 months earlier than what they predicted, you can see the bond between the customer and Collins Aerospace has a long way to go forward in terms of, not a long way, we're a long way down the path in sort of enhancing the value we offer that customer.
In the next episode, we'll look at how sustainment has changed over the years, with a focus on digitalisation and other new technologies. For now, let's turn to Jason Watson for some final thoughts on the advantages of technology and the evolution of lifecycle sustainment.
A lot more of the customers are focusing on what they specialise in, and they're outsourcing these areas of specialisation or, subject matter experts. So technology plays a huge part in that as we move forward. I think, I don't know if you're familiar with the term vendor managed inventory. So it's where someone like Collins could manage the inventory on their shelf for a particular platform or a particular part, and then predict, again, a predictability about what parts are needed in that particular region to sort of look forward and address any sort of sustainability requirements going forward. Yeah, I think technology plays a huge part going forward, especially around, warehouse management systems, understanding where the product is, being able to move it in and out off the shelf in time, not only externally, but into our service centres, our ability to sort of move product off the shelf into our technicians and have them working within an hour or two, lends itself to, timeliness turnaround.
The Critical Care podcast was produced by Shepherd Studio in partnership with Collins Aerospace. A huge thanks for their support.